Dusty versus Astralis. Let's take a look at these two teams. It seems like Dusty, on paper, would be the favorite. But there are a few lanes that we need to highlight. Let's look into the mid lane.
Okay.
Senkux versus Backland. They have been the storytelling of these two teams. They're not the stars and shining armor. Now, they're not those ones, but they're really solid with what they do. Let's compare those two. What are we waiting for?
I mean, we're looking at LeBlanc for both of these players. But LeBlanc, if it comes out today, that would be great. We want those explosive champions for these players. We don't want to see Lissandra. We don't want those picks. We want Galio. We don't want nothing like no Azir, nothing like this. Give us some Akali, some LeBlanc, something like that. That's what I'm looking for.
Don't slap him back to reality.
Slap him.
I think in between Senkux and Backland, there is no way LeBlanc is going to be open today.
That's true. I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
For sure. These two guys have been so stellar on the champions. Senkux had a game previously where he absolutely smurfed on the champion. Backland, we know him for this champions. But there's also other things that Backland has brought to the table, like you mentioned the Akalis, the Yones, the Yasuos coming in as well. The Silas. Senkux love playing the Silas. Good that you mentioned it as well. So there is still chance for fist fighting between the two.
And look at the stats. That is tremendous as well. The damage is not the highest we've seen because these two guys play for the team as well. They can make individual plays, but they're really consistent on team fights as well. And we were talking about that one. And this is only the mid lane. And obviously, we're expecting a lot from these two players. But what about the bot lane, though?
I mean, come on. On one side, it's my boy, Chrisberg. The guy, if you give him resources, he will carry you to the late game. Although lately, a lot of teams have been figuring this out and they have been targeting him towards the bot side of the map to sort of choke him out of resources. And on the other hand, you have then Voxen, one of the most flexible carries that we have in the league. Mages, he plays it. Enchanters, he plays it. Marksman, he plays it. Early game, he plays it. Late game, he plays it. Low resources, yes. High resources, also yes. So when you've got a diamond in the rough down the bot lane where you literally give him any champion, any playstyle, and he does give back to you exactly what he needs to, I think having this flexibility in any draft gives so much freedom to Dusty.
I mean, you look at these two players and what brings them together, what's common for them? They're both Danish. It's no surprise.
Denmark.
Fuck yeah, Denmark. Let's go. No, actually, I'm looking at very much who's going to be facilitating these two players. Link has and Taxa. And Taxa has not been doing too hot these last couple of games. I would like to see him step up as more of a facilitator role, bring Chrisberg into this late game so that they can actually get rolling, bring Senkux into a carry role. So that's where I'm looking for this game.
I'm looking for the champion select as we jump into the last game of the summer split of NLC. Kick it, boys. Give me that champion select to see Astralis versus Dusty, 10 and 7 versus 13 and 4.
What?
What? No, that's just sounds. Weird sounds. There's no language involved on that one. Just chaos, by the way.
Oh.
Yasuo removed.
Okay.
Hey,
Saki.
instantly.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that Sten was able to first pick Nautilus in the previous game, and then you knew that Yasuo was coming, was very dangerous, right? Talia also removed from the side of Astralis. Of course, Talia Yasuo is what they played in their previous game from the side of Dusty, and it was very, very lethal. If I'm not wrong, it was the game versus JDXL as well, where they played the Yasuo and Talia, and it was extremely difficult to play against. Now, I'm wondering if a LeBlanc is going to be taken out of the picture here. Now, the thing is, whichever one of these mid laners chooses to play for the LeBlanc, the neutralizer can come in, the Lissandra.
Yes.
So you're running into the problem of maybe one of the two carries saying, okay, we'll take a backseat here, we'll make sure that this mid lane gets constantly ganked.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at these bans from Astralis and looking at a potential Silas coming in here in the mid lane. Could be something that they could be looking for early. Yuumi is not out of the picture yet, which scares me, quite frankly.
Yes.
Hopefully, and it does stay open. Now, Astralis have the chance to go for the Yuumi.
I'd say, knowing Chrisberg, he's like B1 Zeri right here, coach. B1 Zeri, his performance on the Zeri has been absolutely insane. You can give away the Yuumi and possibly even go for a Lulu in the bot lane or something along these lines. So I think you're pretty safe first picking your AD carry, which is something very common right now. We've even seen a lot of B1's affiliates as well.
And with the Sivir out as well, it just makes even more sense there. Like the Puppy's also gone, so you have no real blockers there. It's great here. And now you kind of feel like Dusty is forced to take the Yuumi away because you don't want to face that Zeri Yuumi combination. That is very
Maybe
scary.
we see the rat come out again, because usually when you pair it up with Yuumi, it's really strong. You can get some early game ganks as well when you go invis. So still in that way. And then if you look at Linkas, he's played some mad Xin Zhao and Viego, right? Slot that Yuumi on top of a Xin Zhao or a Viego. This champion will be invincible.
Yeah, with him and
Sylas, even Sylas.
with him and
You don't even have to pick any carry here. You can just pick Sylas.
that's true. That's true. And with Linkas and Backlund on your lineup, Yuumi just makes even more sense. Like one of these players will pop off, put the Yuumi on top of him. You go crazy. You were right with the Twitch. That's a good call.
This allows at least Taxer to now pick his jungler and maybe bring the Lulu as the third
I think
one.
you need to take away the Sylas 100%. A Sylas with a Yuumi on top of him is going to be such a lethal and annoying weapon to deal with, especially when you have a Zeri that needs her space to play with. A Sylas on top of a Zeri is going to be very difficult. Now, I think it's a good takeaway that you do take... Oh, I thought the Viego was taken away, but... Vi, for me, seems like Taxer wants to be a little bit more active in the early game. Point, click, CC. Who's diving in with you? Because this could very well be Senkax onto something like the LeBlanc.
Yeah, it could. And now, even more so when you mentioned the Sylas, I mean, you get to steal Vi ultimate as well. It's becoming, quite frankly, disgusting how strong Sylas is here. You also get, if you pick it for Dusty now, on the third pick, you get to ban 2 mid laners away. Even on top, it's going to be so strong.
I think this might be a free LeBlanc pick if Backlund wants it here, because you can pick LeBlanc here, ban Lissandra, and you pretty much get free reign in the middle if you want to, or you go towards the Sylas. I mean, you don't have the best ults right now to steal away, like the Vi is good enough, but who are you diving in with, right? So I'm thinking here, this might be a mid lane pick.
It seems like they want to save that one for last. So the fight for Senkax Backlund,
man.
yeah, every single champion they're bringing, and I think that's the idea, will be allowed by the Yuumi or empowered by the Yuumi. And it seems that the match that they want to save for last is the mid lane. They know the carries out on the mid lane, so what we usually see on the top lane now is going to be used on the mid lane. Final bans for this one, you were talking about the Lissandra because now they have the first pick for the red side, so they can bring the
I feel like LeBlanc, Yone for sure. From the side of Astralis, these have been the two other champions that Backlund has really shined on since the Yasuo has been banned away. Yone also with Yuumi. I mean, you have Sylas, you have Yone, you have LeBlanc. Something is going to be open and Backlund can like snatch it away. And it synergizes so well. Because every time I see a Yuumi being picked, I'm always looking at how many targets does the Yuumi have to jump on and how much usefulness will she provide to these targets. And so far, both are 10 out of 10.
Yes. And what I'm really afraid for Dusty here is they really need something to like get them through the early game here, because both with Twitch and with Fiora, you're really looking to get to those items. And right now, they don't have the tools for those, Yuumi neither. So they really need something that really takes them through that. So a strong early game jungler would be very strong. Something like the Trundle is still open. A very strong duelist, something that could help you win that mid 2v2 and at least protect your side lanes.
And there's a way to also slow down those engagers. The Vi, you can stop the Q, you also can slow down the Gwen, and you want to say something.
There is a world where this could also be a Lee Sin LeBlanc mid-jungle duo for Backlund and Linkas. Really strong in the early game. LeBlanc with Viego potentially as well. Really strong. Both good targets for the Yuumi too. So I'm looking at that. Possibly you lock in your jungle here because you already know the matchup and you allow Backlund the counter pick.
Okay, so Xin Zhao, one of these picks that you're going to be taking through the early game. So now the LeBlanc makes even more sense. That's just as good as with the Lee Sin. Lee Sin of Attaxer, a lot of skill expression, so I'm happy to see the Xin Zhao more actually.
I feel like seeing the Xin Zhao ultimate right here, you insta-lock Sylas.
You need the Sylas.
You need the Sylas because you can provide a lot of survivability with the ultimate for yourself, but also for your Zeri, and you become that front line. Oh, please do that. Yes. Yes. Amumu is such a freaking strong champion currently on the patch. No matter how tanky you are, you walk into a river with Amumu there, he will stun lock you for so long that your HP bar will fall low enough to the point where you're going to have to walk out, which means you're playing with numbers disadvantage or you're dead.
And with this amount of lockdown, you have the Amumu, you bring the Sylas, you steal away the Yuumi's ultimate, and you can also follow that with that one. There was a lot of root, but it's not going to be the case. It's going to be the bird word on the mid line. LeBlanc is still available. Do you bring it versus a Nazir?
Yes.
Yes, this is a good scenario for it for sure. I could see that for sure. You could also look for some kind of long-range mage like a Xerath could also not be bad here. Like
Need a lot of
yeah,
AP.
the via to getting to a Xerath is actually really difficult. So Xerath could also have some use here.
Give it to us, Buckland.
Oh,
Yes! So, we've seen this matchup a lot on the LEC as well and worldwide. Azir really, Akali really suffers into Azir, but after level 6, she has 1 versus 1 kill potential. And Buckland is just so good at these assassins, and he has solo killed people before with his LeBlanc. Now I can't wait to see what he can do with this Akali. Every single champion is so golden to have a Yuumi on top of. One dies, another one can carry.
keep in mind, they saved the Akali for the last pick specifically. So looking into these champions, what is your pick?
I mean, what I'm afraid of for Dusty is that their lineup really needs to get carried by Linkus here. Like, Linkus needs to bring them through the early game. If he can, their team fighting past 20 minutes will be really strong, and I expect them to take the win if they can get to that point with a decent even gold. So
Dusty for you, obviously.
Dusty for me.
What
yes.
about you?
I'd like to see Kiba completely unlocked on the map. I'd like to see him completely shut down the early game for Dusty if they want to get Astralis ahead and get that Zeri going. You walk into the river with your jungler, you start punishing early on.
So you believe it's going to be?
I believe
Okay.
Astralis.
Astralis. Okay. We have two different opinions on the team that is locked in first place and the other one who's locked at the bottom of playoffs. But regardless of that, it's a top 6. It's the last game of the entire summer split. So do your best and take it away, boys. Initialize and Jamara.
No pressure. I'm very excited for this one, of course. Quite a lot to see in this game, I think. Obviously, both these teams locked in their positions at this point. But there's pride on the lines, and I remember Obvious on the desk saying, look, if Astralis want to prove that they are a scary team and a team to not be picked by X7, they need to come into this game and absolutely smash it.
Perfectly agree. Because, I think we've had a varying amount of opinions on who this third place team is likely to pick up between Astralis and Bifrost. I don't know. Personally, I would always be picking Astralis. So I think, yeah, this is a really good exhibition game, shall we say.
Yes.
To actually show why perhaps you should consider Bifrost as the option instead.
Absolutely. Well, the doors are open to said exhibition, so let's head on in, shall we? Onto the Rift we go. And a beautiful sky view here as we float delicately above the various lanes of Summoner's Rift. The stars are bright and in the correct shapes for Dusty and Astralis. And honestly, Dusty have well and truly impressed us this split. What a glow-up it has been. We've said it every time we've seen them over the last few weeks, but they've locked in EU Masters. They've locked in first. This game is just for pride.
Pretty much. And, Dusty have always had the star power in names.
Yeah.
Right? I think basically top to bottom, you have very strong individual players. Curb, Barkland already made the run to...
Sure.
Oh, not Barkland, rather. Den Voxnay, I beg your pardon, made the run to EUM before.
Back on Tricked, wasn't it, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, Tricked for Den Voxnay, Curb, Diabolus 2019.
Oh, gosh, I hesitate to answer that one. A little
also-
before my time.
Also, of course, technically last split. I say technically with Matchco.
Oh, that's an unfortunate recall location. Will they stop it? It's going to be very close. They get the stop. Now Carlson's in danger. He needs to try and escape. They're going to continue hopping forwards here. It's a bit of damage down, but Astralis will come back to escort their top laner out, and instead Kiba goes in with a bandage toss, and could have been a little bit more of a scuffle, just turns into a bit of a nothing. Carlson's back interrupted, but not too much more as it stands.
Yep, Carson will just have to make that long walk home.
Game over, says Kerberos with his emotes, and
I mean,
well,
the league is over for them.
It is.
They can't play slower, they can't play higher.
once this game is over, the league is indeed over, at least the regular season of it, as Kiba is on vision. We've seen a little bit, honestly, of Dusty get out controlling these wards early on, as Kiba throwing up even more of the emote game. And with both of these drafts in, with the stakes, at least in terms of standings, not important per se, what do you want to see out of these teams with that in mind?
Sam, look at me.
I'm looking at you. Deep
They
into your
can't
eyes.
see it. They can't see us.
I can see you. Yeah.
Blood.
I'm there with you. The thing is, you said that with such conviction. I'm like, okay. All right, well, time to switch to Warhammer mode. Blood for the Blood God, Skulls for the Skull Throne. Time. We brought chaos into the day today. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so dark. But the ruinous
I want
powers
mayhem.
are
I
well
want
and true.
mayhem. I want Armageddon on the Rift.
Excellent. End of days, in more ways than one. Last game of the day, ready and exciting. Hell, I mean, it is very volatile matchups in quite a few lanes here. Two AD carries, which could really pop off in mid game. We've got Fiora versus Gwen. Early impact junglers. Lots of excitement to go on as it stands right now. Curb playing pretty well into this Gwen right now. Though, of course, the healing is there with the pots and the snip to top her back up. So Gwen shouldn't be in too much of a bother right now. But Taxa, early invade here, looking to find these raptors before Linkus can come over.
Yeah, Linkus went for red into the full bottom side quadrant. Whether or not he wanted to path back up to his Fiora lane, of course, is a different discussion. It looks like the answer is yes, but he's going to find that his raptors are gone, and a lot of that being facilitated by Senkux is a mid lane priority as well. And now Tax is even going to make a move up towards the top side, just getting a little bit of pressure down where he can.
Nice
Should
ward
get spotted out by
yeah,
that.
just spot him out, and he'll see whether there's an angle. But over comes Linkus as well, so I think we might end up with a little bit of a duel, but a quick Vault Breaker over the wall will extricate the Vi from the enemy jungle, and she'll be just fine.
I love your vocabulary, man.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to listen to.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. I hope the audience does as well. Their opinions do occasionally matter, so I hear. But, you know, it's always nice to hear the compliments. It's been a real pleasure casting you again, Jemana. It's been a hot minute, honestly. It's been really nice to get back on the mic together and enjoy some absolute madness here in our final day of
Madness
NLC.
doesn't even come close to describing what we've had.
I was genuinely worried in the last game that X7 were going to lose for a while there.
Yeah.
There was a moment or two when that
no.
Carthus was getting a little bit ahead. I was like, ooh.
X7 are what, the only team that have given us what we expected?
Pretty much. I mean, even the game with the Katarina in, you know, with like, was
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't that far away from a victory either. Bifrost definitely sweating a moment or two as Ericsson was finding some angles we didn't think was possible.
Okay, so I don't know how to really take this game. We haven't really sat down and spoke about
No,
it.
what I've got for you instead
Okay, give us a
is
oh,
some
snap.
conversations here is both of these mid laners have found themselves on a serious upswing from spring. We had a lot of questions about both of them, and honestly, both of them have really stepped up and been core members for their team's successes.
Agree. Yeah, stats kind of show it as well. I think also, generally though, this is one of those kind of like stat bring ups which I don't even feel like tells the whole story of
No.
how important these guys have
genuinely
actually been.
true.
Like, to Dusty, like Barkland really has been the true vocal point, right? And yes, these stats, they're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But I think when you take a look at how Dusty even draft on many occasions as well, it's typically very much revolving around him. He is the center of the Dusty universe for them. And, you know, for Senkux, I think a player that we had a lot of criticism for last split. I think
And it was back when he was called Cress, when he was.
yeah,
he was. I mean, look, Senkux has such a history behind him,
Oh.
and the heights he was at
Of course.
was, you know, we expected a certain level from this guy, and really, he didn't deliver, at least in spring. And yes, Astralis have definitely facilitated Senkux having a great split. I mean, so much mid lane attention to the point where we were basically making memes out of the whole damn mid lane attention they had, but it has been effective.
Exactly, and if it's effective, why stop?
Well, especially that. Coming into playoffs as well, like, that's the kind of thing which is a real strength and a real string in your bow to continue using. And Kiba, the one member that changed on this roster, has found his way towards the top side where Curb does have level 6, but with Taxa and Namumu around, that's a lot of CC and ability to dive, and Curb gets caught here under his tower. Danger could abound. Linkus is around, but I don't know whether he knows there's going to be a support here as well. The sweeper is good, but the flash bandage toss leaves Linkus out to dry. Dead, and Kiba gets first blood.
Trouble on the desk, asked for Kiba to be unlocked on the map, and
What do you know?
this was a pretty damn good roam, and it's always pretty easy to roam out of a Yuumi lane as the opposing support, and using his time perfectly there. First blood actually secured by himself, so we'll see whether or not this maybe gives Kiba an early level 6, sharing that kill with Taxa, but looking for Kerberos, unfortunately Linkus just trying to play, you know, cover, shadow, and now still gonna hook up this gang.
Ghost is pop. Curb gonna try and outplay this best he can. It's just some denting blows right now. Now he can think about turning around. He's very damn fast. He's winning. Trying to go for a 1v2. Curb lunges his way forwards there.
Those vitals actually spawned perfectly for him to almost 2v1. I think if he didn't accidentally right-click Carlson
Yes.
instead of Taxa, I think he would have called in the Grand Challenge.
Linkus is here. There's no accidents anymore. The grand challenge is popped. And Kerberos, it might be a little unfair in the 2v1, but that is a challenge well and truly won.
He was like, you just called your jungler up here, now I'm going to call mine up here. And
How do you like it?
my jungler kills these ganks, I promise. No flash on Carlson, of course. No flash on Kerberos either, has the ghost, but No mobility spell on Carson.
Yeah,
No.
I use my jungler card and then use L plus ratio.
We'll see how this impacts that topside matchup, though, because Kerberos half made a name for himself. If my very zoomer to UK scene brain recalls correctly.
Speaking, you've been in it longer than I have.
Well, I've been here longer than you have, but still in the grand scheme of
True,
things.
yeah, it's fair. I'm not sure what that makes me. Like a...
There is a
newer
another generation.
There is.
Now.
I don't know what they're called yet, like alphas or something.
It's something really.
Yeah,
it's
like Gen Z to like alpha to beta, gamma.
I think they're. Yeah.
I hesitate to ask. Anyway, I've taken us off topic, and I'm going to bring us directly back to you talking about some 2019 knowledge.
Oh yeah,
about Kerberos.
Kerberos made his name on picks like Fiora, like Camille, Yorick was in that list.
Oh gosh, yeah, Yorick players are a special breed.
Ah, yes they are. But you know, the thing that lines all those champions up together is that they're all split pushers. So Kerberos will know full well how to abuse any avenue he can find in the 1v1. So we'll see how that kill impacts the side lane. Not just for Dusty, but also Astralis. Because, you know, Gwen typically seen as, sure, you know, a strong team fighter just because of the Hallowed Mist, but also a very exceptional side laner.
Yeah.
That, you know, typically outscales almost anything in the game.
Fiora might be a question there.
Exactly.
Phil, of course, you've got a lot of healing, you've got a lot of ability to throw down the Thunderdome and invite people to fight, but Fiora just such an accomplished 1v1 champion.
Yeah, there's also in lore, but like just in general, you know, before Gwen came out, I feel like it was the trifecta of split push champions where it was like Jax, Fiora, Camille.
Yeah.
And then like Gwen came in and made it a square, and now it's like a big foldy sheet of
there's just like there's
each other.
Yeah, it's like, and then there's what else is there? There's the occasional Yorick. You said you could build Nada split push and all the rest of it. Like there is quite a few champions at this point, and for all that the I'm going to take this opportunity to maybe discuss a little bit of the meta stuff. It has been a touch slower right now. For all that the durability changes maybe slow down the game in some regards, it's also given a little bit free reign for some of these top laners to scale freely. Like part of the problem with Fiora and stuff is they didn't come online in time.
You know what champion I'd love to see more in that vein? And I think it can fit a lot of the time.
You mean Vayne?
Why?
There was an eyebrow raise there, guys. He wasn't pleased with me.
No, it was you outplayed me. I'll let
Anyway, yeah, that's fair. Thank you.
Alawi.
You know,
I feel like there are enough dive comps pretty consistently.
That's true enough
to make it happen. But maybe it just has bad matchups. And
Ooh, Dan Voxnay went invisible with the ambush, but instead it's turned around. The Predator becomes the prey. Has to flash over the wall, and that summoner spell being down is exceptionally punishable.
Does Twitch have the Crime City skin on? Because if he does, Taxa even has the police.
Oh, that's genius. He does.
It's.
All
right, we've got a riot joke about this right now.
Right, let's go. Right, well, let's workshop it.
We'll workshop it. So normally I'm pretty bad at making things. Sure. I am great at executing. So I'm going to give you the creative floor for this.
All right.
Don't fail us now.
I know. I've got to think now. I'm trying to think of like. I'm struggling.
Okay, that's right.
Hang on. So we've got Tom and Jerry, right?
Yeah.
So
Tom
maybe
and Jerry.
make it this a cartoon thing. I don't know. With us.
Tomcat.
Tomcat, that's true.
Tomcat, yeah, Tomcat. You know, he's always running away from the author. Well, one of his
got
best
really
friends
rude things to say about rats. I'm thinking like Bring Me the Horizon songs, like even if you win, you're still a rat, that kind of thing. But, which I suppose it's truth here. He's always going to be a rat, but there we go. Workshops failed.
Workshop failed. Back to the game. Astralis have been fishing for a very long time for a position to put this Herald down, and it seems like they've settled on the mid lane.
They have got, I mean, they've had a lot of pressure here. Senkux is largely have Backland trapped under the tower and at low HP. They get the charge off, and that's 3 plates and nearly a 4th down. So Senkux feeling pretty pleased thus far with the early laning phase.
Yep, not too shabby. Barkland, though, probably on the opposite side. Okay, being down only 10 CS in the Nazir lane. Desk did mention how this lane, it's not the most pleasant to play out on the Akali side. It's about that post-level 6. We haven't quite seen that all-in threat just yet. I expect relatively soon, once Barkland finishes up that first iron, we certainly will get to see some of that individual prowess, as Senkux on the opposite side has just finished up his Ludens. Barkland expects to be a little more delayed as he has those tier 2 boots already in tow.
That is indeed the play, but the Merc Treads might offer a little bit more sustainability because it's been a bit of a rough time holding on to the health bar in lane as it stands. And while he's not really lost the tower as yet, that Herald has certainly made things a little trickier. But it's been a very slow early game that, yes, Astralis are ahead in largely because of the first blood and then those plates in the mid lane. it's still very playable for both teams, and if this Fiora, Akali, and Twitch aren't put absolutely in the dirt, their ability to carry the mid and late game gets very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and I also have to add a bit of a footnote here that if Sten sits on the battle, okay, well, then Vox.
Well, Tom and Jerry are being cancelled. Their TV license is out. The police came in, and it's a bit of a tax department loss this time around. Another cease and desist order come through, and DMCA works wonders.
The TV license, what a useless tax.
It's so weird. I used to live in Japan, where the NHK guy used to come around and go, "Have you got a TV?" I was like, "I don't actually have a TV, so please leave." They like come and ask you really nicely, "Can you pay your TV fee?" It's quite a weird culture.
It's strange, but a really great pick.
Was
by Astralis. They find themselves 2 kills. I'm not going to pick up too much off the tower, just a couple more plates to boot, but it's easy as you like. There's not really much that Vox they could do in a situation like this. No flash, silenced by the Zeri ultimate as well, very briefly. And just chain CC, great aim from Kiba, and Chrisberg doesn't quite go down. He's got the shield bow, walks out happily.
Does indeed, and honestly, Astralis, it's been slow, but this is now a fairly healthy lead. The guild is where you need to. Tax has made a lot of work on this fight, and Taxa has been so critical to how Astralis have won their games. If Taxa doesn't get anything done, or it's a slow early game where Taxa isn't involved, Astralis have looked a little lost this game. Yes, it's been a bit slow, but Tax has been the one making the proactive plays largely.
And you know, Taxa, I think, underrated a lot of the time by myself as well.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I was not impressed with this spring.
Well, I think people do have to put respect on Taxa's name. He is an ex-champion.
Sure, absolutely.
He made one of the game-winning plays, if not the game-winning play, 2021 Summer Finals.
I remember, beautiful stuff.
With that
on the Lee Sin, yeah,
that's right.
It was.
And right now, just putting on a bit of a jungle clinic with the Vi. Just showing you how it's not always about just showing up to lanes, getting kills, ganks, etc. But just putting down some very exceptional pressure, which so far this game Linkus hasn't quite been able to match. And I will add the caveat to Taxa has easier lanes to play around.
True.
So it's very easy.
Fair.
It's very easy to look like a good jungler when you have good
Priority everywhere, yeah.
But it's also another thing to actually use that priority properly, which Taxa has been doing phenomenally.
I will say, that was a very slick blue buff take there from Backland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, I appreciate the Shroud into Shuriken flip, into Q, into back to the Shroud with the Shuriken retake. That's smooth. That's very efficient. I like that indeed. Second Herald, though, is being taken by Astralis as Kerberos trying to trade out heavily with this Gwen, but not going to get too much more than a bit of the health bar. And all the while that Herald has been taken, remember this tower in mid lane is next to dead, so Astralis are just hovering out of vision, seeing if Backland will overstep. And Kiba, maybe he's the one, in fact, who stepped just out of range. That win becomes lightning. That was very close to being a dead Amumu.
There's a lot of pings on the bottom side right now, but I don't really know if they can kill Curb.
Ult being popped there. Now the grand challenge comes down. The Ignite is there as well. Misses the riposte. Now down comes Taxa. Cease and desist isn't there, but a big turnaround does its work. The Vault Breaker as well, of course, used to go as a distance. Curb trading out, though, and he just gets out of range. Now the turnaround can start coming through with the lost chapter, and it will be a final moment, and Linkus secures it. Down come the rest of Astralis, though, and it's turnaround into turnaround. A fantastic Crescent Guard, though, by Space. Flash, Curse of the Sad Mummy by Space, but what happens now with the riposte? Somehow, some way, Dusty turnaround, the turnaround, and the turnaround, and of course, down comes Backland. They're the first place team for a reason. They're going for more of the perfect execution, not required, as Twitch sprays, prays, and claims a couple more lives.
Around and around and around and around the turns come.
It's not time! St. Cucks can't quite secure it, but the madness continues. It's Gladiator all over again. Are you not entertained? Teleport follows up, and we aren't done yet. Tower falls, Carlson's back, and he's got nowhere to go but the grave. The hallowed mast sanctifies his own grave.
Oh, it's like a roller coaster with 16 loop-de-loops back again.
All right, here we go again.
So, starts off with the 1v1, and I actually think that Curb is very capable of killing Carson in the 1v1. He's got the Divine Thunder. I think Carson was still working with components. The issue is, this riposte misses, dodged away by Carson. At this point, I'm saying, okay, surely Taxa has to take him down here with Carson. The issue is, Divine Thunder are healing, and I think that was also a Vile proc at the same time. At the very least, he got one afterwards with another Divine Thunder proc, and then the Yuumi comes in and starts causing havoc, and the chase down is totally on. But then the collapse comes in from Astralis.
Oh, that Crescent Guard was so good from Linkas to prevent the easy one. And then Kiba goes in, and it turns around from here one more time.
It's absolutely absurd. I mean, I think the fact that Astralis don't really end up getting much more. It's probably going to feel really sore because they committed the numbers first on both times, right? It was first Taxa and then the rest of Astralis, and it was always Dusty coming second to the play, but they were always the ones coming out on top. Senkox gets a little bit unlucky, manages to flash forward and find Denvoxnay. Denvoxnay, brother, Nikolaj, I think that's how you say your first name. That's just greedy. That is just greedy, brother. But I can respect the step up from Carlson. It's an unfortunate teleport.
Nice pronunciation. Been watching a Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I see. But all the while, we're back to live, and that mid lane turret has finally fallen. But Dusty just getting the edge in the hands department, and now maybe Backland getting punishes in the Shroud. Curseless Admin will buy space, trying to play this one out best they can, but there's just too much CC and nowhere to go.
Oh, that's a meaty amount of AoE and 3 ultimates blown. Backland doesn't even have the opportunity to flash.
3-course meal. I enjoyed how much you enjoyed that. It's always nice to have someone appreciate my very poor jokes, but
Honestly,
there we go.
This has just been a fantastic day.
It's been a lot of fun.
My last day on
Yeah,
the
it
NLC
is.
split, and honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better day. I think it has been an absolutely phenomenal set of games. And the entertainment just keeps on rolling.
It really does. This game started slow and suddenly blew up, and I have to say, I wish I had a bit more popcorn on the desk, because it feels like we've needed it. Maybe we'll take this opportunity as well to just check in on our bot laners as well. Now they're starting to come online, because both of these players, we've had a lot of good AD carries, but both of these guys, again, much like their mid laners, have been pretty key to when they've been getting those team fight victories.
Absolutely, they have Denvoxnay for an eternity now, whether it was when he was coming up onto the scene under London Esports.
The other London team.
The other London team, or whether it was when he was on Tricked. It's always been the centerpiece for so many of his rosters, and Chrisberg, you can honestly just argue the exact same thing now. Dragon fight, Dusty have 2 already, it's just a cloud.
Eyes on those mids, eyes on those AD carries, so key for their teams. Dragon started. Look at Backland though, he's off vision and maybe got an angle in. That control will spot him when he thinks about it. Vault Breaker spawn, Kerberos over the wall. Team fight Fiora, not always the best, but then comes Uni Ultimate. They're gonna try and turn this round. Cease and desist onto Denvoxnay, but it's only Vi who is shut down. A little bit of brutality being taken out there. Carlson snips a couple down the back end though. A double kill because of course Akali falls. A 3v3 now commences. Dragon is back to resetting. Over the wall goes Kiba into the Curse of the Sad Mummy, but it's just not going to do anything but buy space for his mid and bot lane to survive. Nowhere to go, no hope, no prayer, and back to the pyramid you go.
Yumi diff, Yumi diff, Yumi diff.
See a few of
Yumi
those.
is just ridiculous. She just kept like everybody alive. I wish I could break that fight down in more detail, but literally what ended up happening was Taxa dived a little bit too far deep, and we'll get in the replay.
Gets taxed.
And he just, he gets taxed, you know? It's quite ironic. You'll see he goes on to Denvoxnay doing the correct thing. The issue is nobody on Astralis can actually follow up on this. Carlson eventually does get close enough, but, you know, I think taking down 2 a lot more than he, you know, was betting for in that scenario, to be honest.
A little bit of luck and a little bit of good fortune gets him there, and then from this point, Chrisberg and Senkox have to run for the hills.
As Kiba just kind of gives his life over in an attempt to keep his carries alive. Great riposte.
Yeah.
The kill.
I wonder whether that stopwatch might have been a little overeager, might have been worth saving that. But, you know, Kiba has had a pretty good game, a very proactive game, if nothing else. Unfortunately for them, though, it's still looking like Dusty are the ones coming out favored. They've got themselves to Soul Point, though the gold is pretty even right now. The problem is where the gold is. I'm looking at a Fiora at 404 and I'm going, I don't think anybody wants that, as Kiba may turn this one around, but Linkas has a Crescent Guard now taking a Backland into the back end of it, gets stopped by a Cease and Desist that is perfectly timed, but the Amumu's already dead. The teleport's channeling, but it's going to be too little. It's going to be too late. Chrisberg about to hit a 3 talent strike, but Linkas can't quite auto it. Suncook's into the backside doing what he can. Carlson is doing his own work, but it's still not enough. Kerberos unstoppable. Kerb lunges onto Chrisberg, who has to Spark Surge over the wall, and the Azir is a long way from home. There's no Empire to back him up. His legions are gone, and he must try and retreat back home. But Denvoxnay on the ambush might be able to spot him here. Is he going to get the reset? Surely not. Nah. No way. He's still holding. He's holding on. Can he get someone? Kerberos going to shake forward to the Senkox, but Denvoxnay has to flash, and that means Senkox flashes but will not survive. A valiant attempt, but dead nonetheless. Now Chrisberg may be too deep, as Backland will find a 5-point strike and take Chrisberg down again. A full ace in the end.
You can respect it. It was a 300 gold shutdown if he finds Denvoxnay. Unfortunately, nobody actually jumped onto Denvoxnay in that fight, so he still had flash and was very easily able to react to Senkox's play there. Nice little attempt, but unfortunately it doesn't go their way. Everything is coming up. Dusty, Dragon fight in that little skirmish there. What?
I'm giggling because I just saw what Backlund is feeling it today.
Ah.
Only 4 stacks, but he's decided it is a
You know
Magi's
what?
game.
If there's ever like a time to buy a Magi's, I think it's in your final game of the regular split, which doesn't actually hold much sway at all.
You see, I have a problem. That's that I live with Nymera. And he basically has a library of Magi's. He just assumes every game is a Magi's game.
Well, I think it depends on the champion. I think there's quite a few champions that should be building Magi's more frequently.
True.
Ari is one of them. I think a lot of... okay, I'm gonna...
Okay, enough of these sensible thoughts on meta into fight in the mid lane. A cease and desist onto the backline. Denbox no flash this time. About to be shut down, but it'll be 2 back already. Fenboxney trades his life valiantly, but the jungler is dead, as is the support. And with Baron alive, you have to wonder whether Dusty are feeling the purple worm is next on the chopping block.
It's a gangster flick where you're watching from the Thieves' perspective because then Voxney keeps on winning.
He does.
It's as simple as that. Taxer is doing his bestest to try and lock down the rat, but he just... even if he kills him, it just feels like he's trading his life and nothing else really happens, and the rest of Dusty have the damage to back up the rest of the team fight.
Yeah, I mean, like, they probably ought to rename to Oceans at this point because it's Oceans 13 and 4 right now. Doing very well. Soul on the table as well in about a minute 30. I apologize for that one, people. It was what came up to mind to begin
That
with.
one was a little...
It was a reach.
No. I'll still give it to you, Dallas.
Thank you. Yeah, you're very kind.
All right, let's take a step back.
Yes.
And look at the game a little more holistically, because right now, Cloud Soul spawns in just over 60 seconds time, so it's always a good timer to track the items. And honestly, not much tracking to do. Almost everybody is item parry, with the exception of Barkland, who's technically behind on Senkox, because he went for that Magi's and has a bunch of components, and the jungle role, which honestly doesn't matter, it's the jungle role. They just have to press my on neutral objectives. But Vi not having another completed item is definitely going to make her significantly less tanky on some of those dives, because that Force of Nature is already implemented.
Force of Nature into Gwen Azir as well, where it's good against repeated takes of the same damage. Like, such a valuable item in this game, considering the opponents that this has been built into. Dusty just claiming control over this river, looking to put the remains of this game to the sword. Some fantastic mechanical outplays in this game, and they might be looking for another one as this mid lane is currently being fought over a little bit of an EU ram.
EU rams, those ones.
Yarel-am?
Yarel-am. Doesn't quite have the same ring.
It's like, it's nearly lamb, but it's not quite there. Yeah. Unfortunate.
We'll work on the pronunciation.
All right, Astralis decide that maybe...
Oh, are they flipping the Baron?
Are they thinking, is it time? I can smell the burgers. I've been hungry all day.
Okay.
All right, here we go. They're going to start it up, and question now has to become, will Dusty come and contest? Curb is the one on the dragon trying to solo out. And here
I'm
we go.
sure Twitch is not going to press his Archie and murder everybody if they continue doing this.
Why would they do that?
Oh,
that
yeah,
would be a completely foolish thing to do. Taxa, though, maybe looking for a assist, gets into the backside, but the Yuumi just turns it around. So much damage back. It's a 4v5! And somehow Dusty are winning. Carson gets into the backline, but it's going to be a little too late. It's a good shove, though. And Curb forced back out, but over the wall he goes, trying to get in with the riposte, finally falls. But Yuumi proves why she is absolutely disgusting, and the current meta in Chrisberg cannot run far enough away. A 3-talon strike will prove why cricket has the rules right. You're out.
Game over, says the emotes of Dusty. And I have to feel that with a team fight going so heavy-handedly in their favor, picking up the Baron, picking up the Soul, they get everything.
They did it! 4v5!
Yeah.
Turned about halfway through it. I just don't understand.
Yeah, and it goes this way because, unfortunately, the dive goes onto Barkland. I think Barkland goes into Shroud with a Yuumi on top of him, and no one's killing Denboxney again for like the 5th time this game. And he just presses his R key. The damage return is absolutely absurd. And Astralis, they're just not getting the damage onto the targets they need to. And even if, right, they find Denboxney, then they still have to deal with Barkland, Kerberos, even Linkus diving onto their backline. And unfortunately, they just don't really kill them right now for some reason. And I think a lot of that has to do with that cat in the bottom right hand of the HUD right there. That Yuumi champion that's got a Moonstone and the anti-heal item too. Really unbalanced.
So much damage.
Yeah, it's...
But like, also, bluntly, you've got a Kali can go invisible in Shroud, a Twitch can go invisible with Q, Fiora
Bye,
with
Chrisberg.
Twitch is Fox Stage.
Yeah, bye.
Goodbye. All right, well, this game's about done, isn't it? Backlund, though, maybe has to go golden and does so. Linka's trying to treat this one out, but still, somehow, some way, get the shot down. Wait, is this Astralis' moment? Is this their time to shine? I think it might just be. Stend is taken out, and now there's no catch. He's been skinned. What could the keeper Kerberos do? Finally pick the right player's name as I continue to stutter just a moment, and Curb is still finding his way to turn this around. A 1v1 for the ages, and Fiora doing her best.
he missed the
Into
launch.
out of vision though, finally gets to and it's timed out! Somehow Astralis find what they needed.
They get ace! It's another time!
Don't believe it!
There's burgers everywhere!
I can smell the cooking oil from here. They get a kill onto the AD carry, and in the 5v4, Astralis come out on top.
Okay, Dusty, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure how you lost that. I think it all comes down to that Emperor's Divide. The turnaround is so huge, and Kerberos just frankly wasn't quite there yet. If he was there from the start, when that fight breaks out of the Tri-Brush, maybe they have a shot, because look how much damage he's capable of putting out. Look how tanky he is because of all of the healing in his kit, which he doesn't quite have enough of. What loses him this fight here? You're gonna see Dash is full. Do you know what the difference is?
Vision.
It's not even vision. Carlson was on the Cloud Rift part and had movement speed, but Curb didn't. I think that genuinely might have been the difference.
Gold's back 23,000 apart, and Backlund a little deep here. That's a
boy.
few of those stacks disappeared off his Magi. Still post that 10 stack mark though, and my days, you have to wonder, 2.5 minutes to the Elder Dragon. There might be some more flips in this one. I was speechless partway through that fight, and I might be speechless again yet.
Give it to me. Give it to me. Flips, 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 flips.
Right, it's time to go and look at the Olympic gymnastic medals. How do I do them? Simone Biles wishes she could pull off this kind of acrobatic feat we've seen in this game so far.
Goodness me. All right, Baron timed out.
I swear.
Yeah.
Every time you turn up. And like, there's something about you bringing the LPL madness wherever you go. You were there when V5 lost their first game.
Yeah, I've been
First
a bit
match.
of a bit of a hectic charm to a lot of the broadcasts I've
Surely
been
not.
on.
There's more keepers coming up as well. Like, you can't talk about this. They're thinking about this. They really are. As Senkux coming down, Ghost is popped by Curb. Can he get far enough away? I think he just about can. Got mighty what for a moment there.
Not only that, I think Curb just got screwed over by Rito Games because
Did he now?
he lunged towards Carlson and his Vital didn't proc. Which is
That is
actually a pretty
interesting.
big deal
And
because
they've
if he got that
recoded
movement
'cause
speed,
it used to be even jankier.
yeah, that was a little bit of a weird one. But anywho, what was we saying? Yeah, I've been a bit of a hectic charm
It's
to
true,
a lot of the
yeah.
broadcasts I've been a part of this year. Especially when I'm on the cast.
Yes.
It just feels like the games are a little bit bonkers.
They've been a little mental, I think it's fair to say.
Today, definitely.
All right, we've got about a minute until the Elder Dragon, which means we ought to check in briefly with some of our NLT memes. I'm not sorry, says Reed. Div 2 producer here, throwing some shade at our social media manager, Doku
Okay.
writing a funny tweet.
Well,
the English language.
For a little bit of reference, Reed Doku, long-term friends, of course. Doku is our social media manager on the NLC, so I believe he would have put that tweet forward for us to actually use on the graphic.
I don't know, yeah, he did that to himself. That's like serious seppuku vibes there. Either way, a little bit of self-damage committed, but either way, it's on stream, and Reed has a point. I'll flame Doku.
He does.
That's dangerous. He's got
I'll
control of the social media
always get in on a bit of Doku flame.
That's fair.
Just
There's
for
a
the
lot
sake
to
of it.
flame. I'm gonna regret this very swiftly. Of all the people to pick a fight with, probably the social media manager
guy is probably not the person.
Yeah, okay, well,
All right.
I've done myself in now. I'll see you on the other side of the meme storm I brought myself down upon.
Game. 20 seconds. Elder, Dusty, they're first in the river. You've got Curb on the bottom side as well.
Vault Breaker charged, Curb down here, and there is now a GA on this Vi as well. Carlson
That's a lot of damage.
can need to win this one out a little bit. Of course, picked up a lot of gold, and Foxy on the side has got an ultimate angle. The spray and pray comes down, and everybody's being deleted. Keeper's down already, resurrecting a divide, but a fantastic Emperor's divide by space. But how much? He can't divide by 0 because he's dead. Doing what he can, though, is Carlson in the backside. It's a 3v1, and the Gwen is trying to cut them down to size, but Backlund says no. The synchronized game over, and Astralis, their star, just ain't bright enough.
Dusty are showing us in this game why they damn well deserve to be the first seed moving into playoffs right now, and they're having fun with it. Then Voxnate on the Twitch opens up, and again, it feels like I'm a broken record. Astralis have tried time and time again to lock him down, and that was very interesting. that didn't call me off guard. And time again to lock him down. But even if they do get very close to killing him, which on this instance, yeah, again, they failed.
Yeah.
The rest of Dusty just have too much damage to work with.
It's filthy. Absolutely disgusting. That combination is so hard to deal with.
Yeah, and I mean, even like you look towards the backside of the fight, Astralis are just getting minced. Like Senkux and Chrisberg can't play the game. It's too obnoxious, too many divers. And unfortunately, it feels like Astralis just haven't really been able to find the kind of team fights they need, whereas Dusty have just had full access to the backline time and time again.
And this time, Kerberos was there while Chrisberg wasn't. The value it's been for having your top laner there has been so huge. And now, with the Elder Dragon secured, Baron's on the table, and Dusty, they just need to close this one out. It's been a bloodbath. It's been entertaining, but it's definitely been Dusty favorites.
Oh, certainly so. We're at 45 kills in 33 minutes. Couldn't have asked for much more for closing out of the split in a game which, again, holds no meaning.
Like, the first thing you said to me when I asked what you wanted to see from this game was you looked into my eyes, you stared deep into my soul, and you said, I want blood. I think you've had your wish delivered.
Blood for the blood god!
Skulls for the skull throne. All right, 2 lanes sieged in. And we've got to see whether Korn will be appeased a little more. Vault Breaker misses, and Tax is like, I'm not sure I want to be there with
my
the
bad. Didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, Ultra Shock Laser hits relatively hard, but not hard enough. You've got to hope for the kind of Zeri Gaming from a few patches ago, perhaps. Not here, not strong enough. Another inhibitor will fall, and one remains in the bot side alone, and Dusty are feeling like maybe they're not going to quite push for the end as yet. They are toying with their food right now.
It's very interesting, though, with both Uber buffs. Not quite able to close out. Maybe just wanting to reset, immediately run to the bottom side, but the issue is Elder times out in 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Do they really have enough time to make use of that buff if they go through the bottom side of the map? Because I feel like the answer is effectively no. So they're just going to be working with the Baron buff Siege, which is perfectly fine, but you'd imagine with such a huge lead, they would just try and end.
Like, we've obviously been quite Dusty favored right now because they have largely been in control of this game. But the problem is, the longer you leave this, the more you realize Gwen's at level 16, Senkux is level 17, Chrisberg's level 50, not far off 16, and 3 items are in on these late game carries themselves, and Astralis, you leave them too long and you're fighting on even footing again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think they've not been finding the kind of fights they need, right? Whereas Dusty have been finding the flanks, the backline access. For Astralis, they have more of a front-to-back team fight, and I think the issue is they've been so focused on trying to shut down then Voxnate when he opens up that it actually has been splitting apart the fight. So maybe if they look for a back to front...
Oh, they're gonna find Kiba in, but Link has flashes for the Crescent Guard. Kiba dies. Then Voxnate just unleashes even more, and this is looking like it's a full team ace. And all you teams and all the other ERLs, listen to the words of T.S. Eliot. I will show you fear and a handful of Dusty. Beware the team from NLC going to the EU Masters. They are on a rampage today.
Dusty are a team to be feared. Moving into EU Masters, moving into playoffs. I would be bricking it, to be honest with you.
I don't think there's an easier way of putting it, a better way of putting it. This team has gone from strength to strength to strength. They have gone from contender to the team to be contended. What an extraordinary, explosive growth from this team. And what a game to end their split on.
It's been a phenomenal run of games so far, and I hope that for Dusty's sake, they can continue that into playoffs, because they're fulfilling the potential we had and expected from this roster. It took a little bit of time, but they're here now.
And look, they were into so many other teams with all that potential as well. They weren't alone looking so strong, but they are the ones that have delivered the most. And that doesn't mean it's enough from me. It's enough from Jamada. We'll have to throw it to the analyst desk to break down that final game. Much love. See you around.
But it's not enough for us. We still have a long way to go. Now, it's a small one. Astralis versus Dusty. Dusty yet again solidifying and cementing the idea they're the first ones in the league. With a little bit of chaos, Pounder, I would say, on this one, but it's still in the lead. That's the salt. What can you say about this game? We were expecting like mid-lane clash. How did it end up for you?
I mean, in the early game, I was actually pretty happy with what I was seeing from Astralis. You saw Kiva roaming the map like Trouble asked for in the pregame. So that was actually great. They also had a bottling gank, but after that, it just looked like it fell apart again for Astralis. They didn't look like they had any life after that, really. It was, yeah, rough. Obviously, they're playing into Yuumi. They're playing into Twitch. They're playing into Fiora. They're playing into Akali. So once those champions kind of started getting their items, you just saw the power that Yuumi really provides. And
What a fun champion. Like, Yumi's so cool, right, Trouble?
My biggest issue here with the Astralis gameplay was the fact that you're picking Azir for a reason, and that reason is that you want to create more space within your opponents and your carries and yourself. And I feel like Senkax played a little bit more for the montage plays right there, rather than getting these big shuffles for the team fights and keeping people away with the walls, which, you know what? It's fair enough. Again, they've locked in playoffs. I think even if you want to try out things in drafts, this is yet another official that will not change the standings. Both teams are locked in. If you want to play individualistically, if you want to play selfishly, freaking do it. It means nothing, and you also get to practice out of it on an official game.
But we still got a little bit of light from Astralis in a specific moment in the game. I believe that's the chaos moment we have in store for you guys today. A fight where everything was going smoothly for Dusty, and all of a sudden, it was not.
It's covered from a big camera, and I can't necessarily see what's happening.
I can't see
So
anything.
production, if we can pop it behind us as well. But I think it's where Kiba goes in, gets a big ultimate, and then Kerberos happens. He comes in with the Fiora, he takes over the fight. He 1v2s pretty much, and he almost cleans up the entire fight.
But
Carlson here
Carlson.
with the Gwen, also very hard scaly jumping in the lake.
And this one is the most... Nah. I love this moment.
He dies right before he procs the Vital. He procs the Vital, he wins. But he
But
dies...
he dabbed, though.
He dies right before he picks up that Vital.
Okay, we have the interview with Zen coming in from Dusty, the head coach from... He's back! You're back, my man. It took us the entire split to get you back, but finally, welcome back to the show, Zen. How you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm doing great, obviously. We're on a massive win streak. I think it was the 10th win today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our performance was quite dominating, so I'm happy.
Okay, let's talk about big ones then. Top one for Dusty. Were you expecting this at the beginning of the split?
No. I'll be very honest. I realistically rated us somewhere in the top 4, but I was being more conservative with our estimates. Obviously, JDXL looked fantastic going into from last split into this one. Excel looked really good until they lost their jungler. They found their footing again with Viking. I thought that Bifrost would look a lot better than they did this split. So I thought that we were going to be in that sort of 3rd place, 4th place contention with Bifrost, Astralis, maybe X7. But you know, things went really well. The roster meshed really well together. Like, our playstyles fit really well. We can do pretty much anything in draft. We're super flexible. On the map, we're super flexible. What you guys are saying on the cast is really correct. Like, we can do a lot of things with a lot of versatility, and no matter, you know, what you ban, what you pick, we're always going to have something, let's say, fun and exciting prepared to take it up a notch.
And let's talk about the big one. You guys are facing in JDXL to start off playoffs for your run on the semifinals. How are you feeling about that one? Dusty looking really solid, and JDXL shaky.
Yeah, obviously, you know, losing one player, especially when it's as big as their mid laner was, is obviously always going to be hard, right? But now they have a little bit more time, right, to prepare. I think that, you know, it's always a difficult thing when you go through something like that. And I have, you know, despite the fact that their performance is pretty poor, I think by the time the sort of the winner bracket comes along, I think they'll do a lot better. Obviously, you know, they're maybe going to be weaker than they would be with their previous mid laner, but I wouldn't underestimate them. Like, if you have good coaching staff, good players, which I think that they do have, you know, previous Dusty bot lane as well, like FGG and Venzer can always do a lot of magic as well. So I would definitely not go into that series underestimating them at all. We're going to prepare really heavily, and I think they'll be a good team going into playoffs.
Now, of course, then you're always coming here, and every time on the interview, you're very kind and you're very humble about your team and about your work as a person. And I have to say, obviously, a huge congratulations to your team. but also to you, because it proves a lot for a person's individual work to come in spring with a completely different roster. You mentioned Vendor, you mentioned MTG, you mentioned Viking, everyone. Now you're coming back with a complete rework, new players, more scouting, trying to find synergies. You've created such a flexible team that is so hard to pin down in draft. Obviously, on a remaining member is now Bakal, who has had one of the most insane glow-ups I've ever seen from spring to summer as well. So please, talk to us a little bit about what you do in the team and your work.
Well, I'm really happy with both the last splits, the Dusty roster. I felt like we could have done a lot more than we did as well, but you know, third place wasn't that bad. I'm really happy that I managed to get both the previous Dusty roster together and this one. I think I have a decent eye of putting people together. But ultimately, it's all on the players, right? Like the players are putting in a lot of work. On this team in particular, I do a lot of, let's say, coordinating work. We have very strong opinions everywhere, right? As you notice, we're super flexible, right? And we honestly, maybe we've shown 30%, maybe, of
30.
everything that we can play. 30, 40, something like that. Like there's about half of everything we've shown. Additionally, champions, strategies, wonky picks, wonky drafts that people would not be expecting, and we haven't shown any of that yet, right? Maybe for playoffs and best of fives, it's a time to pull out some of the
Hold on
stuff
for
we've
you,
been
Masters,
brewing.
man.
Yeah.
Or for you masters, exactly. And the players are, the players have a lot of very strong opinions because we play so much stuff. So it's hard to, or not always hard. It's both a good and a bad thing. To say, okay, no, we're not doing this, and yes, we're doing this, right? When you can do 20 different things, you have to say no to some of them to say yes to others. And we all have really strong opinions of what we want to be doing. So coordinating that is sometimes a little bit difficult, but really the mental of the team is fantastic. Like all the players are super nice, and so even if somebody gets denied and say, hey, sorry, we're not doing this strategy today, maybe next time, right? Everybody's a good sport about it, and it's really fantastic.
He's pulling a Dragon Ball on us. This is not even half of my power. This is an anime villain. Okay, now I need to know a small one for you. You got locked into U Masters. Regardless of the seed you take, you are on U Masters. What was the feeling? How did you feel? How did you react? What did you do?
Well, we were all really, really happy. I mean, EU Masters obviously is a big thing for us, right? We're hoping that with whatever teams in the NLC end up qualifying to EU Masters, I hope in the end, it's JDXL, us, and X7. I feel like that would give us the region as a whole the best chances at EU Masters to challenge Spain, to challenge France. I think challenging Spain might not be as difficult, but I think challenging France is going to be quite an undertaking. And I think if we can make it sort of to some of the top spots at EU Masters, I think the region as a whole should be really proud because LFL is looking really strong these days.
Yeah, we have to be honest about that one. Even though we meme LFL is still LFL is going to be a dangerous one, but we believe in you guys. Thank you so much for this interview. It's always a pleasure to have you back. Best of luck on playoffs. Have a nice one, Zen.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the Dusty fans.
30%. Oy, oy, oy.
He underestimates the power that the person has when you literally have, you were coach, 5 voices in draft saying 20 different things, playing 50 different champions. How in the world? Like, I think he underestimates a lot of the work he puts in.
Yeah.
Being able to say, no, we're sticking to this. Someone gives an opinion, suddenly you have to change the whole draft and the way you work around this. Like, this guy is always so freaking humble, but I chose him as my MVP coach of the split in spring for a reason, and I think he is mine again.
I mean, this guy has been around since I was a player, so he must obviously be doing something correct if he sticks around that long on that many good teams. So huge props to him. I've been a huge fan of how he's been drafting as well. And if he can keep 5 players with voices together in a team like this, that's very showing. So
it is not easy, is it?
It is not easy. It is
I see it in your eyes. You've suffered that one.
It is very difficult.
Let's talk with the player right now from Astralis. Chrisberg is with us on the interview after this game versus Dusty. Obviously, it was a rough one. You guys almost pulled it off, but there you go. We almost pulled an interview off as well. I believe I agree with them. Every single statement he gave us, that was lovely.
Yeah.
Silence.
Enough said.
No reply.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Enough said, yeah.
I would say that one. I don't know if we wait for him. No, I wanted to talk with him. Jumping into playoffs, how does he feel? Which team does he believe
Might just have the
is going
chance
to fight
to.
back? He's back. Chrisberg?
I think so.
I'm back.
There you
You're
go.
back. Okay. So I was setting you up online. The idea of you now on playoffs, regardless of the seed. Who do you believe you're going to fight against starting the first round?
I mean, they just put out the match sheet, so
Okay,
I
don't
kind of
say
know.
anything.
Let's smile. Who do you want to fight with? Don't spoil.
Okay. Riddle, because I think we had a pretty poor showing against them, but I think we actually match up against them pretty well.
Okay.
We just keep like doing stupid things, and then the game explodes.
And it seems like you don't have a lot of time to prepare. Do you believe you are in the state that you need to be to face them all?
I mean, I think this week practice could have been better, but we are going on a boot camp for this next week. So
Nice.
I think even if it takes time, we definitely have that.
Okay.
Nice. So now, Chrisberg, of course, congratulations for making playoffs. I think it was a big hit in spring that you guys did not manage to get there. And I think Kiba coming into the team has changed a lot of around. We see him roaming the map continuously and trying to make plays. Now, I want to know a little bit about more of your synergy now that the whole split has gone past, at least the regular split, and we're heading into playoffs between you and Kiba.
I mean, I think me and Kiba have good synergy. Like, he likes playing explosive. I follow up. And in some matchups, he likes roaming like crazy, and then I play weak side. And honestly, I like both styles. And I think he does as well. So, yeah, I'm happy.
Seems like the
to
team
know.
evolved a lot. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that one. Best of luck for playoffs. I can't wait to see what Astralis can do on the best of 5 scenario. I believe that's where you guys are going to shine. So best of luck. You guys are amazing. Have a nice one, Chrisberg. See ya.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
He almost spoiled it for us.
He's like, it's already been, no.
We don't know. We need to wait for this one. Okay, guys? We'll show you at the same time. So it's going to be a surprise for everyone. Which means that the surprise as well is the play of the day by Mastercard. Let's see who surprised us today with the best one. Shall we take a look?
Right, so this is going to be most likely the Nuriki Team 5. Thank you. The Nuriki Team 5 right here. You will see that they have 2 members behind the pit, and the second riddle splits up. Their Jinx can no longer play front to back, whilst on the other side, the Aphelios is untouched. I think there were a bunch of surprises here because, one, Nuriki won the game in literally 30 seconds. There were no inhibitor towers down. There were no inhibitor towers. There were no inhibitors down. It was literally, we take Baron, we end the game. Surprise number 1. Surprise number 2. That was a 0-1 Aphelios walking into this fight and a 4-0-3 Jinx. And the fact that the Jinx could not play the front to back because the team split gave Aphelios a bunch of disadvantage. And surprise number 3, Fatesky is carrying again in Nuriki. Surprise number 4, JDXL get the second seed because Nuriki beat Riddle.
A lot of surprises in a single fight.
I mean, there were no indicators that they should be winning at that point. It all looked like it was not favorable for them at
The
all.
momentum meter was on the other side.
The momentum meter was all the way on the other side. It makes no sense. But Fatesky, as she says, he came in, did a lot of damage with the AoE gun. I don't remember what it's called, I'm going to be honest.
Inferno.
But, yeah, that one. But he did a lot of damage, spraying them down basically because they were 3 bunched up. It was crazy.
Who are you, Fatesky? I want to know who you are. I want to meet him on an interview.
2 games, 2 pop-up performances. I hope people are watching because this guy came in for 2 games.
There's
tried
something.
to prove himself, and he absolutely did.
He did, versus teams that he had no business winning, I would say. This guy is popping off. Now, let's look into the standings to understand where we wrap up on Summer Split. Dusty in first place with the 2-game lead that JDXL had for a long time.
And 0, this team has gone on a 10-game winning streak.
This is major. Any surprise? Before we jump into the next one, obvious. Any surprise?
Yes, JDXL.
Oh.
XDXL as
XD
it was so lightly put by Attila. It is surprising that they ended on the second spot. I feel like they should be very happy with that, feeling very blessed. I am actually pretty excited for them that they get to actually pick it up. Torok looked like a very competent coach. I'm not very familiar with him, but he looked super competent, like a very nice guy.
Oh, that's because you haven't seen a lot of his drafts. I'm just kidding.
There we go.
Bull him a lot, but he's a good.
Yes.
He seemed like he knows what he's doing. And I have full faith that the veterans who we argued are actually the ones who are faltering. I have full faith that they can pick it back up in time for when they actually need to play their winner's bracket match. And then they'll have Morosku as a part of their system. So they might actually be looking a lot better when we see them next.
Don't put the bracket. Don't put it up. Don't put it
I just
up.
want to remind everyone real quickly that I completely agree. I think we also had Zen mention Venza and FTG, who picked up massively in playoffs when they were playing with Dusty in spring. So if they can manage to pick it back up with this one for JDXL, maybe we can have a really good best of 5 versus Dusty. Please take it away because I can see your
Okay. Production, wait. I'm going to step up and you guys are going to put on the big wall so we can react to these ones. Okay, I'm up. These are the standings. In the studio, give me the brackets for playoffs. I want to see it. Who picked who? What do we get?
Dun, dun, dun.
You can.
The excitement.
Yeah, you can. Production.
They're doing this
Please
on
put it-
purpose. They're doing this on
I
purpose.
can't keep my hands up like this forever. I'm trying to look.
Yes, hands. Is this what it takes?
I'm just chilling, it's fine. I already know what's happening.
Okay. Ah.
That's a big surprise, actually. So X7 had the pick between Bifrost or Astralis, and they have actually picked Bifrost. I think out of the 2 teams remaining, I feel like Bifrost, towards the latter stages of the split, have shown that they can stick to one playstyle and play that one playstyle really well. Although Astralis seemed a little bit coin flippy in the early to mid.
Oh, for sure. I mean, what doesn't surprise me, actually, like going off the interview with Attila, he seems like he knows he needs to win the entire thing. He's going for the complete win of the entire NLC here. He doesn't care who he's facing, and I'm assuming his team feels the same way. Viking probably feels like a god going into this playoffs, so I'm not as surprised as I am. I'm not that surprised, if that makes sense.
So this means that we're going to start up next Monday with X7 versus Bifrost on the first best of 5 of the split. We're going to follow it up on Wednesday with Riddle versus Astralis. Then, jumping on the next week, it's going to be Dusty taking upon JDXL to see who's going to straight into the finals. And then we'll know who's going to be on the losers final, and then who's going to jump in as well on the 15th of... Oh, it's going to be a good one. But if I may, what you doing? This is really interesting. I have some interesting information about this one as soon as we jump into that game, but I'm kind of interested in why this happened. So if we can get some interviews with the coaches to understand this, that would be top peak content.
Yes, let's get that.
For you guys, before we wrap up the last day of Summer Split, what do you have to say?
I'm super excited going into playoffs, but my horses, all my horses are on X7.
Oh, they're going to take the entire thing?
For the entire thing. There's very little doubt. We'll have an exciting finals with Dusty and X7 in my mind, looking forward into the future. But that's pretty clearly what I'm seeing.
I'd just like to say thank you for everyone who stuck through all of our shit that we do here on the NLC. I don't care if I get fined. Thank you guys for showing up every time, cheering on Twitter, on any social media, on Twitch chat, everything. Thank you so much for supporting us, that we're building the show, the people behind the cameras, the people in the production room, everywhere. And obviously, everyone has seen how the NLC has stepped up production-wise, but also our teams are showing up and showing off. And I feel like all 6 teams are worthy of EU Masters, and we have proven it. This is why we got our 3 seeds. We can't wait to see you guys back for playoffs. Thank you for sticking with us.
We're back on Monday to start off playoffs on the Summer Split 2022 of the NLC. My last reminder for you guys on the regular split is you guys are amazing. Either working here, either working as caster, analyst, or even on the production, cameramans, every single one. Even the social media guy, you actually, you know what you're doing. For the teams, you stepped up. Content creators on the social medias as well. The NLC social media clash was amazing. And you guys back at home watching, sharing, and making clips, all of that. We got that 3rd seed because of all of you. It was not on one person, it's on the entire community. And all of a sudden, we have a good community on the NLC, the Northern League of Legends Championship. This is all for today. I'll see you on Monday for playoffs. Let's kick it off.
It's playoffs, baby.
Keep climbing the mountain. I'll see you soon. Have a nice one.
Sick day, guys. Sick day.
You did good.